When I was a child, I was an only child, so clearly I needed attention. I started off in improv because I've labeled this myself, I don't know if it's true or not, but I consider myself a part of what's called the Whose Line generation, where I was inspired to perform from the show Whose Line Is It Anyway. That was where I kind of found like my inspiration to be a performer or a comedian in a way. So from there I did improv, and then improv got kind of political with like, I don't want to perform with that guy, I don't want to do it with that guy. So I kind of broke off and started doing stand-up, and I saw a stand-up special in high school on Comedy Central, and it was Steve Byrne, and to this day, he's like one of my favorite comics. I'm not going to say he's the best ever, I'm going to say he's the reason why I'm doing comedy, in the sense that I've always wanted to perform, always wanted to be funny, and then he kind of showed me like, hey, you can do it by yourself, write some material, tell some stories about your life, and you're in. So that's kind of why I'm kind of in comedy today. Terrible. The first time I performed stand-up, I bombed so hard. Well, the first like 6 months I bombed. Like for the first 6 months solid, to the point where I quit for like a month to like reevaluate if I really wanted to do this. The first time I ever went up, I went first at this place called Best of British, and I bombed so hard. And the second time, I was like, all right, I'm gonna tell the host, I don't want to go first. He was like, all right, you don't go first. And then they put me up after this female called Allison Johnson, who is to this day probably one of the funniest, if not the funniest female comics, just the funniest comics. She slaughtered so hard. Like just in an open mic, practically a standing O. And then it was like, oh, here's fucking Kirk Bonacci. And then I went up with my bullshit like 19-year-old material and it bombed. So that was tough. The very first time I ever did comedy, it was very, very tough. And it was terrible. I had to reevaluate my whole idea of comedy. But now that I'm doing it more, I'm so happy I stuck with it. Like I do really enjoy comedy in every way. Steve Burns' Comedy Central special. The thing with Steve Burns, I know a lot about his career, so a lot of his, when you know a lot about a comic, you're going to see that their material overflows in different specials and stuff. But when it comes to like my favorite like specials to listen to, Steve Burns' Happy Hour was probably my favorite hour when I was younger. He also has another one called 13 or Bust, which is actually, it's not even a special, it's like a documentary on iTunes, completely free, and basically he does 13 mics in one night in New York, which is a record. The new Chappelle's, the very first one I think is really good. I don't know which Bill Burr, but like Bill Burr, I love Bill Burr. Newer Bill Burr not so much. Chris Rock I've always thought was really, really good. I've always been more towards Pryor than Carlin personally. I'm trying to think of like a weird one that most people wouldn't think of, but like I've always loved, like Tosh has been a big influence on me. Burr has been a big influence on me. Even like younger, like Dimitri Martin, like the little things like that. Like I pull from a lot of different comics, I feel, or maybe I'm just being pretentious and don't really know. I don't really know exactly how it works. I like every comedy special that's not on CISO or Netflix for the most part. For the most part, if you're like one of those, I probably won't enjoy it. Like I don't have like a gem to give someone like, check this out and it'll blow your mind. I don't have one of those like gems, but like just like the basic Bill Burr's, Chappelle's, Chris Rock's, they're considered the greatest for a reason. So check those ones out for sure if you really want to kind of see how the craft is done. See the callbacks, see the writing structure, see kind of how they're going to bring political humor, still within like humor about sex and stuff. But they're able to interweave it beautifully and kind of watch those people. Even like Foxworthy was really good comic as well, I think. I've always really enjoyed Mad TV more than I enjoyed SNL. I like that Mad TV was just the I don't care, I don't give a fuck. I don't know if we can curse on this, but I'm going to. Like they were just so free and like the characters there. Because when I was in LA, I trained with the Groundlings. and I've always respected the Groundlings for their character work. 'Cause it's something that I've always struggled with personally. Like, I can think of like funny lines or whatever, because it's what I do. But when it comes to like jumping into a character, like the character of Stuart from Michael McDonald is probably one of the most influential just comedy icons of just our age group. Like when you think Mad TV, all you can think of is, look what I can do! And that's what everybody does. So I've always really enjoyed the way Mad TV has affected my life. SNL was cool. I was too young for Kids in the Hall, I'm sorry. But I mean, as a kid, like all that was big as well. Kenan and Kel, all that, those kind of shows were the sketch comedy shows for kids. I really enjoyed those, and it's kind of also one of those that kind of pushed me towards, I want to be like Kenan and Kel. I want to be on all that. I want to be on Who's Line. I want to be on those shows, because I find those like are funny and entertaining, and that's kind of what I want to be. I'm probably getting a lot of shit for this. I enjoy Big Bang Theory. I haven't watched it recently, but when it first came out, I really enjoyed Big Bang Theory. Seinfeld is, of course, a terrific sitcom. Probably one of the best of all time. What did I watch? Titus. Oh my god, watch Titus. It's an old show on Fox. Christopher Titus, also great. Oh my god. If you want good writing, I'm sorry, I'm glad this is coming back to me. Christopher Titus is one of the best writers ever. His show is terrific, but the way he writes stand-up is, and I'm going to explain this here, it's not about stand-up. Christopher Titus taught me how to write stand-up when I get stuck in a spot. When you get stuck in a spot, comics, look at me, comics. You're going to get stuck. You're going to be like, oh, how am I going to make this funny? Well, what am I going to do? Here's what he does. You may have heard of it. If you haven't, here we go. Take a piece of notebook paper. Write your story, but skip a line every time. Just keep skipping lines. And then what you do is you go back, and those empty lines, you write a punchline for what you saw above. So maybe it's not going to be the funniest or won't be the best, but eventually you're going to hit one, and your story's going to flow well, because you're going to have punchlines in between. Chris Titus is probably one of the most underrated comics when it comes to that sense of like knowledge and preparation. Chris Titus is awesome. Check out Titus as well. Great show. Great show. Heavyweights by far. Heavyweights is, Heavyweights, Dodgeball, because I love that era of like Ben Stiller was really good, but also probably one of my favorite movies ever is What We Do in the Shadows. Flight of the Conchords made it. It's a vampire mockumentary, and it is like really, I think it's really funny in the sense that like it's really good for like today. Like it really captures what comedy is. It takes like the Office style, that mockumentary, and brings it into a movie and really makes it like unique in its own way. And I think that's kind of the style of comedy right now. Like the multi-camera, like regular comedy, like The Hangover is very funny, but it's a movie. But when it comes to like mockumentaries, like a Spinal Tap, this movie really captures like today, like comedy, like humor within it. So What We Do in the Shadows is really good, and there's a sequel coming out called What We Do in the Moonlight. It was originally called, it was originally called What We Do in the Moonlight, but now it's called Werewolves, like werewolves, which watch the movie and you'll understand why it's there. Reese Darby's hilarious. See, that's tough, because like I want to say like my friends, name dropping Carlos Mencia, Tony Rock, but I mean I think the best comic to tour with would be Russell Peters, only because he is so internationally like famous that like I could go to like Saudi Arabia, do a set, and then dine with the richest people in the world. So if I had to choose who, it would be him, because I want to live a lavish lifestyle of Russell Peters. But if you're like, who are you going to have the most fun with? Mencia probably. Carlos Mencia probably the most fun to hang out with on an entire tour. Patrice O'Neal #1, I'll backing it up. Elephant in the Room is probably the best special of all time. Watch Elephant in the Room. If no one's ever said this, fuck them. Elephant in the Room, I can't believe I didn't think of it. I feel terrible. Patrice O'Neal, Elephant in the Room, watch it and stop. Don't even watch the rest of this. Stop this and go watch it. It's phenomenal. Patrice O'Neal, I want to get roasted by him. Anthony Jeselnik, I want to get roasted by him. I think Natasha Leggero would be really fun to be roasted by. Who else is a good roaster? I don't think like good roasters, or I mean honestly, like I would. This sounds stupid. I would love to be roasted by like David Hasselhoff. I'll take him as well. And then, you know what? The very first roast battle. Ooh, I'm gonna do 6 because fuck it. The first roast battle winner of Mike Lawrence. terrific. Watch the first roast battle. Material, don't watch the special. Watch his roast battle, hilarious. And then David Carr is a terrific roaster. And also a terrific joke writer. So check out his special too. David Carr is very, no, sorry, fucking Jimmy Carr. Can't get it right. Also Stuart Lee. Stuart Lee all day. It's all coming to me as we go on. If it's still here, it's a problem. In 5 years, I do hope to be headlining. Now that I'm 7 years in, I do hope to be and like strong headlining, not like just like I got 45 now. Hope to be headlining legitimate rooms, not like local rooms that I'm not gonna name. That I don't want to get banned from them. But I see that, or even in 5 years of not headlining, touring, like opening for a legitimate headline, like on a tour. That would be my other idea in 5 years. Or just like make a bunch of money and quit comedy. Like, to be honest with you, in 5 years my goal is to have so much money I don't need to fucking bomb in front of rednecks anymore. That's the real goal in comedy, is just to stop doing it forever. It would definitely be writing. It would probably be episodic. I think, because I like the daily need to be funny. But I don't think I'm good enough at writing scripts or anything like that. I'm good at riffing. I'm good at like punching up ideas. But when it comes to like sitting down and writing like interior, day, bathroom, I'm not good at that at all. It bores me. Kirk Bonacci on Facebook, Kirk Bonacci on Instagram, Twitter. I don't tweet, but if you want to follow me, it's Captain Kirk B. Yeah, just check my name and just type that into any search bar. You'll find me. I'll be there. There's a lot of stuff that I probably didn't say and I forgot because I've been drinking, but we'll talk about it via whatever. When I get off stage, there's different philosophies when it comes to comedy. There are those who want like the audience to like take something away and to learn from it, and that'd be great. Like if you take my jokes and you see what I'm trying to say and you get it, that's fine. But at the end of the day, like as long as when you leave, you go, man, that guy wasn't the worst of the night. That's all I really want from the audience. I don't need to be your favorite comic. I just don't want to be your least favorite comic. That's really all I go for. Hey guys, I'm Kirk Bonacci from European television that you've never seen before. Check out cutiepie.com to see more interviews with comedians who are outrageously less famous than I am, which is not saying much because I'm also not that famous.